This is Suspicious Steve, joined by Raging Ross. We are the articular verbose, where the well spoken are outspoken. And today we are speaking about Puff Daddy and the scandal of his alleged crimes, being a honeypot, having outrageous sex parties where he pressured and coerced people into salacious acts of sexual uh, perversion along with copious drug use. And now he's having the justice system come after him full bore. He is sitting in prison as we speak and being held without bail. And what does the future hold for Diddy? And did Diddy do it? Or are we going to be the first to say that Diddy didn't do it, in fact? Let's start off with what it is that people do say that he did, Ross.
Yeah, so basically, Diddy, there's been a sort of an amassment, I guess, of accusations brought against him
Mm-hmm.
in the last little while, over the last year, basically. Um, Basically alleging that he would have these drug-fueled orgies at his mansion in Beverly Hills with various, prominent celebrities, both from the hip hop music industry world and beyond. Come to these parties. There'd be drug fueled orgies. They were called freak offs.
Freak offs.
And yes, and he's been accused of sex trafficking, beating women, threatening people, filming the freak offs, which some people suggest is connected to actual blackmail, perhaps. And essentially, this is the sort of long and the short of what he's being accused of. He initially denied it. He still denies it, I guess. But I guess kind of more fuel came to the fire. The more accusations were brought to bear against him. Some of them dating back to 1991. Some of the women who are bringing these accusations against him claim that they were underage at the time, like 17, 16, that kind of thing.
I see.
And a greater degree of credence, I guess, was given to this when a video surfaced from some CCTV footage of him beating his then girlfriend, Cassie, who is also a music performer.
Definitely
Um,
scandalous.
yes, yeah. And yeah, there's been quite a few allegations. And now he is being held without bail in Brooklyn, I believe, a jail in Brooklyn. And so all of that in and of itself is already quite crazy and intense. That this went on for a long time without anyone, without the public at large being aware of it anyway, even if it was sort of a to some extent open secret, perhaps within the world of I don't know, hip hop people or music industry
Celebrity. I
moguls
mean,
and so on.
it's not hard for people to imagine that celebrities have this sort of wild lifestyle. you know, chicks on retainer, drugs all around, good times had by all. It's nothing out of
Yeah.
the usual, really. Like if you're a man with a lot of money and influence and power, you're going to be having awesome parties with awesome good times. So that maybe is where some people would retract from this concept that maybe he is guilty of all the things it's easy to see that we could imagine him being guilty of. What if he is just an innocent man that just likes to have a real good time, and people are making these false accusations because he's a rich man, he's a powerful man, and they want to take him down or they want to take some of his money? Isn't one of the people that is accusing him of grooming him and raping him in jail right now? How many?
Yes, I think that was a man who said that. Actually, in that particular case, I believe I'd have to double check that. So yeah, yeah, and I think that man he paid out 100 million to from what I read earlier today.
That's insane.
So yeah, now is that direct evidence that he's guilty? I mean, a lot of people would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I remember hearing the arguments about Michael Jackson being potentially innocent, and they would say, oh, well, yes, he paid these people off, but that was because he was advised to do that by his lawyers or his managers. And they said, oh, it's better to pay people off than have your livelihood harmed. Um, by this scandal being out there when you're trying to make money, it's better to just pay the person off and make them go away, right? So some people could say, oh, well, that's not proof of guilt. But I mean, $100 million is a heck of a lot of money, though, right? But
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It
Well,
is, you know.
how about this story from this gentleman that shot up a Trump Towers? Was this?
Yeah, so this is where it gets really kind of wacky. In in terms of like where what we can kind of expand on from the story here is back in 2018 there was a man by the name of Jonathan Odie,
Hmm.
and he was I believe a South African porn star. And don't hold me to this, I might be wrong, but I believe he was a gay porn star, or I
Right.
don't know if he himself was actually gay. He might have there might I heard something about him being married to a woman
He was just acting.
starting gay porn. Yes, yeah, he was just a really good actor. Okay, he
Yeah.
was a really convincing actor.
See, you
Okay,
don't have to be gay to do gay stuff. That's where the
yeah,
gay movement has got things all twisted. People are obsessed with this identity politics that they're gay or, they have to identify a certain way. This man just was a man that did gay porn. He was just doing gay stuff. He wasn't gay.
yeah. That's what Tiger King told me when he gave me a shoulder
I
massage.
I
Actually, he
love
told
it.
me that.
Yeah. Tiger King would be awesome. I'd hang out with Tiger King, gay or not. I
Yeah,
don't give a fuck.
yeah.
I'd smoke meth and hang
He's
out
got
with tigers.
yeah, he's got tigers. He has access to tigers, and what better way to engage tigers than while on meth is what I've always said.
Yeah, I would put
Um,
up with the flirting with the gay flirting. Yeah, I go along with it. Yep, cool. Tigers and meth. Sounds like a
Absolutely, yeah,
great time.
yeah.
I get to
Um,
choose whether I'm gonna do gay stuff because I'm not gay. So
yeah.
Tiger King's just gonna have to respect
You
that.
heard that here, audience. Just for the record, I know a lot of our fans have accused us of being gay teases, like that we come on here and we pretend to be gay and talk about like really really gay things. That's what I've been told. And yeah, we're just teases. We're both heterosexual. Sorry, so but feel free anyway to continue to enjoy the program nonetheless. But that being said, and on a related note to that kind of overall theme, I suppose, this Jonathan Odie, this fellow, in 2018, he went and he caused some mischief, I suppose you would say, at a Trump-owned hotel. And while he was there, he started smashing up pictures of the Donald in, I guess, the lobby of the hotel. And at a certain point, the police showed up, and he got into a gun battle with the police.
Nice.
And during the gun battle, he he yelled a number of colorful things, apparently, including that uh, Trump was Hitler, and
Yep.
that Obama is Osama,
Hmm.
and that I believe that he might have also accused former President Obama of doing 9/11.
I heard that.
And yeah. And then George Bush was like, "What am I, chopped liver to you?" Is what George Bush was heard to remark to that allegation.
You can't leave chopped liver slash George Bush out of the equation. That's not right. Yeah,
No,
the gay porn
exactly.
star didn't have all his facts straight. Obviously,
Clearly not.
he was
He doesn't
yelling
know what
under
he's
duress because he was in a firefight. So we'll cut him some slack.
yeah, yeah, exactly. He would have been a bit preoccupied with the firefight, I guess. But yes, he made these allegations about. Incidentally, the hotel was the Trump National Doral Miami Hotel. I'm being informed by our sources. But at any rate, this fella yelled about Donald Trump, Barack Obama. But he also said some things about Diddy, which is what makes this interesting. And after he was apprehended, he was interrogated, and there's video of the interrogation in which he makes allegations that he was Diddy's sex slave. That he served as a sex slave for Diddy and the aforementioned Cassie, the one who was a pop star that Diddy was caught beating on tape at one point.
He was a sex slave
And
for Cassie, the woman.
Evidently, he was a sex slave, according to what I've read, for Diddy and Cassie. Now, there's a the average red-blooded male might not mind being a sex slave for Cassie.
Yeah, I was
Not to
just
make
gonna
light of
say,
anything
like,
here, but
see now the story
I,
thickens. He clearly isn't just a gay male prostitute. Like,
well,
he's
I
just.
don't know. He was a slave, so it's hard to say
But is he a willing
how much
sex
will.
slave? Like, how is what terms as a slave are we really? Is this like some
I,
sort of fetish role play BDSM sort of shit? Like he's like the rent boy, like he's got like a room
mm,
in the palace or the that's like, yeah, he just lays out the dick whenever Diddy or Cassie want it. Is this like the kind of slave
mm,
he's talking about? He gets to do free
like
drugs
Mr.
all
Slave.
the time. Yeah, but better than Mr. Slave. He's not like the poor gay man Mr. Garrison's slave. That's like
Yeah.
getting like he's getting, like some good times, like sort of middle class treatment,
Mm,
kept man.
mm,
But we're talking about like high kept, like somewhere in like one of Diddy's
yeah.
mansions or all over the world, like with drugs apparently that are in fanny pouches on the numerous servants that walk around the house that apparently have coke, molly, tukey, weed, MDMA, all sorts of shit, and just fanny
Hmm.
pouches stuff. Any person that works in the house, you'd just be like, yo, hand me some coke from the fanny pouch. Like, this is the kind of slave he is. Like, he's got like fanny pouches on dozens of servants walking around a palace, giving him drugs, and all he has to do is lay out the dick for Cassie or a Puff Daddy. Like, is this what he's complaining about? Like, is that
Um,
like because or is it like, it's a lot darker? Like, all those things are true, but he's being kept there against his will. Like, how much will is it just he being coerced because he really likes to get high and the sex is just sort of like a way to exchange for the high, and that's where he's like a drug addict that's being taken advantage of? Like, what level of coercion are we talking about here?
well, this is the difficulty. Now, my layman's not that deeply examined the material type impression of this story is that what we're meant to kind of glean from this is he was saying that he was like a legit slave in the sense that this was to some extent against his will. But
Right.
again, that's just me extracting that from the way that it's kind of presented in the article, not from me having done a deep dive into how he presented this. I know he did accuse Diddy also of crimes, including trafficking cocaine on his private jet.
I
Apparently,
mean, geez, I
um,
mean, who does it these days if you have a private jet? I mean, come on.
I,
Like, I mean,
I
that
think
kind
the
of
idea
goes.
here
I mean, people I hear
was it.
about the hip hop conspiracy, and people be like, "Yeah, man, these people are up to no good. They're trafficking all the coke and bleep blop. They got the planes." It's like,
Mm,
okay, like they don't like the cocaine business doesn't need hip hop artists on their planes to bring in coke. Okay, like a news flash. Like we live in Canada next to Montreal, like and the biggest wide open port of coke, the highest quality, the cheapest price in the world. We come here in Canada. Like we don't need hip hoppers in their planes to bring in their measly kilo loads of coke, okay, that they're going to slip past like
that's what I didn't
the
understand either. That his
this
allegation
is
too
like
was that
I find this like sort of amateurish, this like concept that like, oh yeah, these people that are naive about the drug business, I think from their like layman's perspective are like, oh yeah, they need the hip hop people to bring in the drugs. No, they fucking don't. I'm telling you right now, no, they fucking
yeah, yeah, I'm
okay.
sure they don't, and I'm sure that there is, of course, a difference between them simply having, you know, relatively small amounts, like not
Hey,
commercially
if
viable,
you could,
large scale amounts, but
yeah,
like,
if you're bringing
personal
in your
amounts
own
of
private
cocaine.
stash, if you're bringing in your own private stash because like you're a millionaire and like you could just bring in loads and make some money, like that doesn't make you like the most paramount cocaine trafficker. You're just small potatoes, okay? Like if you have like a
It
little
could very
what
well be though that he's
arrow
trying.
star, like is he flying on a Trump 757? Like, or is it like what's he flying? Like one of those little aero
Well,
gliders, or what are they
he may
called?
have
Like
been alleging. He may have been alleging. I don't know because again, I'd have to do a deep dive into the actual material of the guy, or and even then, he might not have specified. But if you were kind of alleging that they were involved in like large scale trafficking, because the implication seemed to be that the airplanes, the that is to say the jets of these wealthy rappers, are generally not being searched, right?
yeah.
And so, in which case, it might actually be alleging that it was significant quantities, like commercial level of quantities of
Yeah,
cocaine, right?
I don't know.
But I don't know. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure. I can't comment on that one way or another. But it was allegedly liquid cocaine,
Oh
according to
yeah.
this guy. And I heard elsewhere pink liquid cocaine. But
Yeah. Gotta get some of
yeah,
that
and
PCB.
then another great allegation from the alleged ramblings of this man, um, is that Diddy himself, rapper Rick Ross, not to be confused with the actual Freeway Ricky Ross, Rick Ross and DJ Khaled were all gay.
Yeah.
They're all
Well, I
gay.
mean, if they're
They're all gay.
importing planes full of cocaine, Like just the fucking fumes alone are gonna make you gay, okay, bro? Like,
Uh-huh.
like they're gonna and not make you gay. They're gonna choose to do some gay things. Let's make a distinction here. Here we are, articulate
Right,
boss.
right.
We make
Now,
a
this
distinction.
is
These people are not gay. They're just there's a shit ton of cocaine around, and they're choosing to do gay things because cocaine is a hell of a drug, as the old uh,
Chappelle
Prince
show.
Chappelle show Prince
Yeah,
comment goes. Yeah, like have you ever seen
yeah.
someone suck
Um,
dick for
uh,
marijuana? As yes, hell
Rick
no, you
James. I think
haven't.
it was Rick James.
Yeah, but
Maybe I
also
can't
like
remember.
like people on the coke. It's a party drug. It's make people party and have sex.
Yeah,
These people.
famously, that's it, right? And
How much of this is all
this is the
consensual? Really?
difficulty.
How much of this is all
Well, that's the
consensual?
difficulty in determining.
At the bottom
We're
line,
we're only
like
we're
enjoying the drugs and the good times together. Because I mean, you could do a lot worse than being a rent boy to Cassie and Puff Daddy. I don't have much sympathy for you, you know. But at the same time, so what I'm saying is, I totally could believe his story. What seemed like outrageous 8 years ago, and for him to like be freaking out, like I'm a gay male prostitute, I'm freaking out. All this story, it seemed like it was bullshit 8 years ago. No, I totally could absolutely be true. But at what point is this really like a sob story, or is this really just like, okay, now you're beating up on Puff Daddy for hosting these awesome parties and being like an excellent, hospitable host, where he's like, yeah, like fucking, I got orgy
we want
level
to point
amount
out that our,
agreement
our
with drugs.
program
Yeah,
our program tonight's episode, Diddy didn't do nothing,
yeah.
is brought to you by Cyrock Vodka. Okay.
And
Yeah.
like
Anyway.
I'm gonna say that Diddy didn't do nothing that we wouldn't all want to do, and other people enjoyed doing. So, people need to back the fuck off.
Well,
I'm taking this
playing
hard
devil's
stance.
advocate.
I'm taking this
Yeah,
hard
we're
stance
we're
on
gonna die
fucking
on this hill. This is the hill that we've decided we're gonna die on.
yeah,
Is defending
Puff
a
Daddy.
man
Yeah, I'm
who
defending
many
him.
would say
I've
is an
decided.
obvious serial rapist.
Like I don't know, like, but that's
Okay.
like from their fucking naive perspective, maybe they're
Well,
haters.
this is the
Maybe they
problem
didn't get
with.
to maybe they didn't get to go to the freak offs and they didn't get to have this awesome good times and they feel jaded and snubbed, and so they're like, fuck Puff Daddy and his good times. I'm gonna take him down.
Well, this is the problem of the world we find ourselves in. Maybe it's the world we've always lived in, or maybe it's more of a modern phenomenon post 60s. I don't know, right? But you may remember when the scandal of Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein, broke. The Harvey Weinstein scandal. One of the things he said in his defense was, "You got to understand, I grew up in the '60s, or maybe it was the '70s. I can't remember which, right?" But what he was attempting to convey, and this doesn't mean he's innocent, I'm just using this as an example or a launch point to talk about something, is he was basically saying, like, he grew up in that sexual revolution culture, right?
Yeah.
Where all sorts of, like, everything was on the table. Okay, like Club 54 and the whole scene of that era, right? And you just kind of look back to that era, and it was basically seemed like an era where, by today's standard, you'd be like, they acted. And I don't like saying this because I feel like it gives like some degree of credence to a certain kind of radical feminist argument that I'm not wanting to give credence to. But there is this sort of degree to which, within the kind of urban nightlife culture. I don't mean to say the culture of America at large. I just mean within, I don't know, disco culture or club culture or something, right? That basically like rape was okay or something, right? In the form of things like Mickey Fins or something, right? Like it was just kind of like, well, you win some, you lose some. You went out, guy slipped you a Mickey Fin, and then he had sex with you when you were, out of your mind.
Christ. Yeah, okay.
Oh well. Oh well. Okay, now I can't prove that that's the case. I haven't sat down and done the hard research, but I'm saying that that's my impression of how the past was. Like that it was like
Yeah.
treated kind of like not exactly a laughing matter, but just sort of like par for the course to some
Par for the
extent,
course.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's at all
That's
okay. I'm
ethical.
not
No,
saying
I
it's okay.
understand, but you're just saying that that was probably the standard that people applied before.
Yeah, that was the milieu in
Expectations.
which
Expectations. Yeah.
it's as if post 60s, okay, with the emergence of the pill and the 60s sexual liberation culture or whatever you want to call it, that to some extent there was this sort of like world in which this was like a free for all, and it was just like it was the hunt, like it was like, yeah, you go, it was like the purge or something, right? Like you go out there, you're out there on the scene, and any kind of effed up shit might happen. The chick who plays Marsha Brady might wake up the next morning naked at Steve Martin's house or something, right? And it's a thing that happened, and and sort of a school of hard knocks, right? And I think it was like that for quite a while, like to some extent. Now, the majority of the average, the average person is not really getting like direct access to this kind of world, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire to be part of that scene. I'm just saying it's sort of a scene, if you will, right? And that persisted for quite a while. And it was taken by the people who promoted it as kind of liberal, if you will, like
Yeah.
kind of freewheeling lifestyle or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But maybe a lot of people
Because
were getting burned by it, and it wasn't until the advent of social media that like a lot of these women. I know the cynical thing to say is that, like in the case of a lot of them, they allowed things that they might later call abusive to happen to
regret.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they might have done it for a degree of leverage within the sort of the hierarchy of the media world that they were like trying to operate in. I cite as an example Lucy, what's it, Delacour? Is that her last name from the Trailer Park Boys?
Oh, right. Yeah. She used to get choked.
Yeah, yeah, she was from. For those of you who are not Canadian, there's a famous Canadian television show called Trailer Park Boys, and there was an
Great
actress
show.
on this show. And yeah, and at a certain point in time, she and several other women brought kind of Me Too charges. This is a little bit before Me Too happened by a couple years, I think. She brought charges against a Canadian radio announcer. What was his
Gomeshi.
name? Do you remember his name?
Ian
Yeah,
Gomeshi.
Gomeshi. Yeah, Gian Gomeshi. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she brought these charges against him that, along with several other women, that he would have women come back to his house or apartment, and he would make them have sex with him. I don't. When I say make them, I don't mean he actually forced them physically to have sex with him. But when they would have sex with him, he would strike them in the head. That was like part of his kink. He would like punch them
Hmm.
in the head, and he
Yep.
would make them look at his teddy bear, who I believe he called Mister Floppy Ears.
Oh,
I
man.
might be incorrect about that, but it was something like that. Okay, and that
Hmm.
was actually, I guess, kind of part and parcel of like how they determined, oh, these women must be telling the truth because they all had that specific, unusual element to their story. And I guess I don't know how they know that they didn't coordinate with each other in advance, but perhaps they somehow thought they knew that. I guess I
Again,
don't know,
these are all the
but
trappings of like an outrageous lifestyle. You have a plane full of cocaine. Rick Ross, Kelly, they ain't gay. They're just doing gay shit. Trappings of a plane load of cocaine. Gian Gameshi, whatever they were up to, striking people and then getting off to her staring into the bear's cuddly eyes is just all par for the course for or some sort of weird good time. I
yeah,
think the new
yeah,
people, I think the
but
new age peoples call it polyplay, perhaps.
perhaps they call it polyplay, maybe, or
Yeah.
something like that. But I
Yeah.
guess that my point is, though, in the case of this particular lady, it then came out in the court hearings surrounding these accusations, um, that she had texted this Mr. Gameshi um, before going out on dates with him, right? And then at a certain point, she did go out with him. They had sex. As part of that sex, he apparently punched her in the head. I
Brought
don't
out
know
the
how
teddy bear.
hard enough. Yeah, and then later, however, she continued to text with him and say, things to the effect of, and I don't want to misquote here, but it was to the effect of like describing that she had enjoyed her evening and had a good time, like communicating like to him that she had enjoyed their particular weird kink. And in our liberal society where nothing is wrong, okay, well, as long as people are willing, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not allowed to question people's strange sexual
Anything.
kinks
You're not
as
allowed to
being
question their
unusual.
anything, their faith, their ideology. You just have to be accepting of everyone. It's all moral relativism.
Yeah, yeah. As long as no one is hurt, is this sort of the argument, right?
Yeah.
And so even if people are being in a certain sense hurt, like let's say they like to
Was
do
it
weird.
consensual?
Yeah, as long as it was consensual, right? And it seemed to communicate, like through her text, that it was consensual, right? Which makes you think either A, she really did like it and then later for some reason changed her mind, or B, it was something that she was grinning and bearing, possibly because she intended to kind of climb the ladder and this man had an important position within the entertainment industry, right?
The
You know, I don't
CBC.
think you have to be too cynical to suggest that that could be a thing, right? And
Yeah.
so because the entertainment industry is this sloppy world of loose morals or mores or whatever they call it, um, that makes it very easy, well, potentially anyway, for someone to deflect, as Sean Combs seems to be trying to do, even if he's like
Yeah.
guilty of sin, let's say, right? It's very easy for him to put up the shield of saying, as you're saying, we're just having a good time, whatever. It's easy for people to believe that. It's easy for people, if they want to believe
Yeah.
there's just a bunch of people, they got together, they did drugs, that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
Things got a little funky and crazy. They
Hmm.
had sex, but it wasn't actual rape.
Hmm.
It was just people were high. How do you blame him if he was high too? And that sort of thing, right? Now,
Yep.
that may totally not be the case. He may be as guilty as sin, but because of the and then it comes down to um, because it's very hard to sift through this and to prove consent and all this kind of thing. It then comes down to this almost sort of like ideological bias, where let's say
Mm.
you don't even have to be a radical feminist, but let's just say that you are a radical feminist. You're definitely going to assume that he's guilty. You're going to say he's a man, he had power, whatever. He's
Yeah.
guilty of sin. We
Vulnerable
don't need to hear
women.
anymore.
They were
Yeah,
vulnerable.
yes, exactly. Get out the violin, whatever, that kind of thing. And then if you're some kind of red pilled anti feminist guy, you're going to say, yet another great man brought down by the
Me too.
feminist legal system and Me Too, right? But at any rate, though, of course, this story that we brought up here about this Odie fellow,
Mhm.
that's extra. I don't know. Layers of mystery or whatever you want to say, that you have this man who at the time was taken as insane, like he was just
Yeah.
accepted to be insane. His ramblings were nonsense. He had torn up a Trump hotel and was saying crazy things, but then it seems to hold some legitimacy now knowing what we know about Puff Daddy, right? Like, so what
Allegedly.
was he
Allegedly.
just allegedly what we allegedly know about Puff Daddy, right? And so was this guy just a nutcase who got lucky, or isn't even right at all? Because none of that's true about old Puff Daddy.
I guess
Uh,
the only way we'll really know is if we see the tapes. If we see the tapes, we can judge by the behavior of the people in the so-called honey trap. If it was a honey trap, where these things absolutely do exist, this is a part of everyday life in 2024. People, there's all sorts of places out there where you could go to have a good time, and people are going to be secretly recording you, and they're going to try and use that to blackmail you. This is a common scam amongst organized crime, and that has been elevated because it is less expensive to perform this sort of intelligence operation on witting victims. It's not expensive. It doesn't take a lot of resources. It doesn't take a lot of creativity to set somebody up to take the pants off and do something funky if you get them all whacked on drugs. Okay, so like this is something that's very viably true. I fear that like the pile on of all the people suddenly that have come out of the woodwork to say that they're all rape victims, or whatever, like victims of sex trafficking and all these things. Like, I mean, I'm not one to doubt people that have these claims either, but I would just have to look at the video evidence to see for myself before I made any judgment, really.
that's it. Yeah.
So I look forward to when the video evidence comes out, because then that's how I'll actually know. I can judge for myself. Is this truly like this guy was a schemer and operating at this level? Is it all about power and dominance? Is it really, or was he just really like an excellent host that loved to share the good times, substances, and sex wise? He was just a selfless man.
That's it. That's quite possible, right? We don't know. It's It's hard to say, right? Because another common sort of trope that floats around within the world of what I guess we could call conspiracy discourse is the desire of the establishment to create false narratives about like a famous celebrity to bring them down and destroy them, possibly sometimes to gain ownership of their music or something like that. Often it's
A
like
human sacrifice.
a human sacrifice, yeah, to maybe get them to kill themselves or something. It's often it's like a black celebrity.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah,
within
again,
within the
maybe
black
this is just a
community,
fucking innocent black man once again being taken down by the white man, you know?
yeah. Well, these are the kind of allegations that there are there about Michael Jackson or even Bill Cosby. Remember they later released him and determined that he wasn't guilty. Apparently, right after they kind of destroyed his career and his name and his empire. If that's true that he wasn't guilty, I don't know. But so you say, is it another example of this? Right? There's certainly a lot of ways to look at it, and I guess as things develop, we'll get a better understanding of it, hopefully, or maybe it'll just muddy the waters further. Right? We don't know. Right? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is where we're at now. And of course, one of the allegations I can't remember if I mentioned this by the that fellow Odie was that there was a plan to assassinate Donald Trump, right? Which is
Oh
another thing that
shit.
sort of was borne out. Yeah, and he
Oh
was
wow.
attacking a Trump hotel too and calling Trump Hitler. So I don't know why he would want to telegraph kind of a fair warning to Trump, but so now people are taking a look back at that and seeing it in a different light, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
With good cause, with
so
good reason to take it to this guy's story in a different light. It's definitely worth looking into. I'm fascinated to learn more about all this. And if he really was like a sort of Epstein level sex operative into this blackmail and this sort of behavior thing, it's good that he got taken down, jokes aside.
yeah,
But of course, I'm it could just my suspicious nature makes me have to look at this at all angles, and I do hear a lot of naivety on the side of like the laymen who don't appreciate the sort of lifestyle that this man was leaving. Like
yeah,
they kind of throw out all these sort of wild accusations about like, oh, he's a big cocaine importer. Like it's no, like even if he was bringing in boatloads of coke, he's still a minor fish. And let a player be a player. Like, why are you hating? Like, so what? He's bringing in enough coke on his plane to get people high. And having good times with lots of pretty people. If that's the life he was living, good for him. If it was all on the up and up, it was all consensual. Isn't that what our liberal society demands? Isn't that like the gold star behavior of like consensual good times had by all? So I mean,
apparently he even gave people an IV drip or something like that to like rehydrate them
yeah,
after hard partying. I
that
mean,
sounds like
that's
that
real
sounds like a
commitment as a
gracious
host.
host. That sounds like a gracious host to me. He's like, here's some vitamin B saline solution that'll kill the alcohol in you, and maybe he'll give
Mhm.
you that those builders. There's this thing that you take that rebuilds your serotonin for your brain when you party too.
Right.
There's those things that you could take that you could buy at the pharmacy that
How is he any different than Gwyneth Paltrow with her Goop Health paraphernalia?
yeah, sure. And she's selling people mushrooms and acid and shit, getting them all whacked and giving them orgasms. That's part of her thing. She makes millions of
Yeah,
dollars off of it. So, people getting
you
people all
you've heard it here first. Gwyneth Paltrow is guilty of whatever you want to say she's guilty of.
whacked. But yeah, Sean, Puff Daddy, to be continued, I guess. Well, if anyone has any comments on our theory about Diddy didn't do it, or if they want to tell us for sure that Diddy did do it and have something to point out to us that we may have missed, or some bit of information that's forthcoming that will sway our view on this matter, then please feel free to let us know in the comments and subscribe to Articulate Verbose. I'm Suspicious Steve and Raging Ross signing out.